Mark in the count. The swing arm now coming back as our countdown continues.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Brick Something News. I'm joined today by Joe Gonsalvez of Joe G Customs from the Offworld, Let's Go Offworld Podcast, and hangs out over with us on the Clubhouse, and just a generally awesome dude. Star of the Cabal, one of the many stars of wonderful people in the Mythic Legions Cabal. What's going on, Joe?
Oh, nothing much. Just happy to be here, Brick. Thanks for having me. You know, I'll pop in anywhere where people will let me, so
And yeah, man, I love to have different people on here, which is both awesome, but then the downside is oh man, I want to revisit and hang out with people. I'm like, do I do this multiple times and just hang out with other friends? So I'm glad.
There's so many people that need the opportunity for sure. I've made a ton of friends on here myself, so yeah, I feel you.
Well, so I know that you're a big toy guy. I know you're really deep in Mythic Legions in particular, and you're doing awesome customs there. But I know there's also that thing that's over your shoulder there that you've got that gorgeous Snake Mountain. And so you're into mochi, but for the folks and just for context, what all are you either collecting? And then just I don't collect that, but I really love this other stuff. Tell us about Joe's geek world.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get into Mythic Legions really early on because of Seventh Kingdom. I'm a D&D guy. I started playing D&D when I was 15, and I was collecting the pre-painted D&D miniatures. And at the time, they did them like a pack of baseball cards. You would buy the box, but you didn't know which ones you were getting. So I was making a weekly trip to a neighbor town, to buy my D&D. Yeah, my D&D minis. And I started collecting Toy Fair magazine while I was there. And I saw the Seventh Kingdom figures by Four Horsemen. So I talked to the shop owner. And he snagged a couple. And I got those. And they were really cool figures. But, I didn't get more after that until I got divorced. And then I just needed something, to kind of pump myself up, and I went back and I was like, you know what, I'm going to jump on eBay and, get caught up. And by that time, Gonsalvez had been out. So I started collecting Gonsalvez and so I ended up getting all of Seventh Kingdom, all of Gonsalvez with the wings. Yeah. And then one day, boom, this knight figure popped up when I did a search for Gonsalvez, and I was like, Mythic Legions, and being, playing D&D, you get medieval kind of styled figures, but there was nothing like Mythic Legions when it came out. And I was just like, well, this is my new obsession. So, I was able to get in right on the first wave. And it was quite a few years later, maybe 3 or 4 years later, just bouncing, because there wasn't many reviews. So I found Israel Ramirez YouTube channel, Captain Power. And then I watched him because he was pretty much the only guy doing Mythic Legion reviews at the time.
Adam Power. And
then he mentioned Jeremy Gerard. So I checked out his channel, and through that found the Cabal, and the rest is just history.
Nice.
And I love the toys, but the community, I've made so many good friends through the community. It's just been a wonderful experience. And then through that community, getting into Oz's channel and being asked to hang out on there. And then I've met so many good friends from outside the Mythic Legions community. So, for for a guy that lives in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, this has been a pretty wonderful experience, all thanks to toys. So I'm pretty happy about it. Yeah.
Love that. Real quick, what other beyond the Legions and the D&D, because I know that you got the Motu there, were like comic books in general a thing as a kid, or?
So I actually learned to read from comic books because my family moved here to Lovelock, Nevada, which is a really small town about 100 miles east of Reno, when I was like 3 or 4, pretty young.
Okay. Yeah.
But my dad was still working in California, so he would commute every week back and forth, just come down for the weekends. And he would stop at truck stops, and back then they had the magazine racks, you know, for periodicals. And he didn't know anything about comic books, but he would just grab me comic books, and he'd come back with like a stack of like 5 or 6 comic books every week.
Good job, Dad.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. So I wanted to, you know.
Sorry, I was just gonna say thanks for indulging me, because I know you and I have had an exact version of this conversation. I think it was on the Clubhouse not too long ago, but I want to have this. Oh, that's okay if you don't remember, but I want people to remember that. No, I want the audience of this to hear that, because I love this. What you're about your dad, seriously, and then I'll share after that. But yes, sorry, keep going in terms of learning.
And I was just going to say, so then my mother, you know, I wanted her to read the comic books to me, and she said, I'll read them to you. Whoever the main character is, for example, it was a Spider-Man book. She said, I'll read it to you, but you have to read everything that Spider-Man says. Mm-hmm. And that's how I learned to read, because I wanted to know what the characters were saying. And then I just stayed in comic books, you know, until I was probably 16, you know, or so, got a little bit older. But yeah, and then through that, cartoons and toys and, you know, all the fun stuff that we love. So
and I'm actually 1 year older than you, so we're like in that same area. So when you say 16, I know when that was, and I know what was on TV, and like the draw was powerful, right? The stuff on TV definitely reflected and rhymed with, I guess, our comic book experience. And then the toys, right? The plastic crack those things were, you know, and I use the term crack gently, but yeah, that it was like that it was it was like it was a nice little package, right? And so I'm glad. Yes, I wanted folks to hear that, and because as I shared again, I forget, I think it was the Clubhouse recently where that was, but my dad also came home one day. I think I was in the 1st grade. He came home one day with like this, it was like kind of a portfolio thing. It was like a little box, and in it were like a stack of comic books about this big. And it was the first time I'd ever seen bagged and boarded stuff, as well as so I was like, what's that about? I'd seen, you know, of course, loose comics, and my brother's 5 years older. So this guy, my dad, comes in, he's like, okay, here you go. There's a bunch of comic books. You guys are collecting comic books. And I'm like, okay. I don't know. And I've asked my brother about this, and I don't think he actually could quite remember, which is weird because he usually remembers everything, like why that was. There's theories. But my brother was by that time already like going down to the corner 7-Eleven, grabbing what he could off the racks, or just reading them, or every time he'd go to the grocery store, you know, with my parents, he'd be there.
Right.
He'd wait.
Absolutely.
And so I, you know, grew up with them, but it wasn't until my dad came home with those, I was like, wait, like a whole new world was open. Then he took us to Another World Comics, which is gone now in Eagle Rock. And I walked in, and it's just like the way that store was set up was like a bunch of tables with all the new issues. I'm sorry, back issues and boxes. And then, you know, and I was just like a whole other world. The idea that, they come in bags and boards, and like, you know, learning the culture and long boxes, and, you know, oh, if I'm into this, how can I get the older stuff? Oh, you go over here. And, you know, it was just a whole new world.
Just a wonderful world. Yes.
And like you, I didn't quite learn to read. Your mom was dope. She's smart. Like, there's a lot of like, I'm going to read out loud, but also like the acting and the getting into character, all that stuff.
Right.
Dope. So instead, you know, I read my own comic books, but like you, I feel like my vocabulary, my understanding of some scientific concepts, right? Especially science fiction. You're like,
yes, absolutely.
All of that to talk about how great comic books are.
Yes.
Because, like this, SDCC, folks sometimes just say acronym SDCC, but that third letter is actually comics, because SDCC started off as just like a meetup in a little space. I don't remember if the first one was in a hotel room in San Diego, but the earliest one I went to, God, that was so long ago, but it was very comic book centric, and the last ones that I really remember going to were 08 and 09, 11 and 11. And by then, like, Hollywood had already come in and it had shifted. But still, comic books were at its core. Fast forward, it's a completely different decade, dude. We're old.
Oh man. Yes.
But like, comic book culture is kind of become mainstream culture with the MCU, right? And Star Wars.
And I think that it encouraged so many people to use their imaginations, to be imaginative. And these are the people that grew up and became the creators that moved all those things that we love into the forefront of the media, you know. And it's funny to kind of look back, you know, like a movie like Revenge of the Nerds, what nerds were thought of in the 70s and 80s. And now they're the exact opposite. They're respected. They're running the corporations, you know, they're the ones with all the sway. So, you know, we've definitely progressed.
Totally. That's my brother is like a freaking Disney executive, and that always trips me out. Like, in here and sort of like, wait, what are you doing? You know, it's like, and you know, and all of the other folks that are out there, like, anyway, all that to segue to SDCC. Like, comic books and comic culture is has so much to do with popular culture, including toys, right? A lot of those early action figures came from movies, science fiction, etc., and then definitely comic books. Want to highlight that as we go through and try our best to cover like barely the tip of the iceberg when it comes to SDCC. Not even going to try. Like, and actually, there's a comment in here. I'm about to say hello to people, but somebody, I think it was Matthew, was asking, like, how are you still awake? Because can you tell the folks what you were doing? And we were, but I think you did many more hours than I did this weekend over on Oz's.
Well, I was probably only on for maybe 5 hours. Oz, though,
but still
24 hours. Did a 24-hour show over on his channel, covering San Diego Comic-Con, and that's about what you have to do to really touch on everything and have a discussion about it, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I jumped in there in the morning yesterday, my time, but they had already been going. I think I finally woke up and listened to it at 6:30 my time, our time. That was like 3 hours for them. And then I was on last night, and they kept going till early in the morning. So
6 a.m. their time this morning, right? That's pretty hardcore. So I start work. I work on Saturdays, so I started work at our time, 6 a.m. And I threw them on and tried to listen as much as I could throughout the day, you know. So they were really into it. So it was a great show. A great show for sure. Well, I don't know if anybody wants to go back and watch 24 hours of San Diego Comic-Con coverage, but maybe you could jump through and hit the hype.
Give it a shot. If you just want to hear, like, have people keeping you company, that's often what I do. It's like, it's like hanging out with buddies. All right, let's go ahead and, speaking of buddies, let's see who's in the chat. Oh man, Dorlaxon has been, had a crazy weekend. Found so much stuff at Walmart and Target. It's insane. And I saw Deadpool. Wow. See, even this is nice. To our point. Like, yes, there was Comic-Con going on the West Coast, South San Diego at the border. And then another part of the country, people are still like, I go to Walmart, I'm getting these toys and these, like, all the stuff that we grew up with. It's crazy. And then you went to see, and he says Deadpool, but I just want to highlight that movie is called Deadpool and Wolverine. And I got to see it on Thursday, and it very much is a movie about both those characters. Like, who knew? Like, that would be a big summer movie. Anyway, moving on.
Oh, that's really cool. And I'm going tomorrow. We already have it all set up to go.
Spoil anything, but it's have fun. Eldor. Eldor is here. Look, see, and Oz is here. Are you upright though, Oz? Andrew Gady's Toys is a longtime fan. First liar. You call all the time. I got the receipts to prove it. Some of them are a little bit sketchy. No, I appreciate your calls, Andrew. Let's see. Thanos Copter is here, and thank you again. Thanos helps so much with this show, and it's actually kind of his fault that this show exists because he said, dude, keep doing the show. Appreciate it.
Well, good job, Thanos. We all appreciate it.
Ray Paz is in the house. Hey, peoples. There you go. We got highly articulated Adam. Yes, reminding him about the mammoth. Yeah, we're going to go through some things that aren't quite SDCC. But yes, all good. Got you. And he was trying, like a little before this, trying to cover SDC years ago. And here. And by the time he's done, he's like, I've covered an nth percent of all the cool things there. So,
right.
Yeah. Let's see. Game Quest. Hello. And yes, it is time for the Needless Ephemera We Saw. Game Quest. Star, of course, is here. What's going on?
Hey, Star.
And this guy. And to be clear, when I said this, Ray, my bad. I'm not there. I was a 50-50 chance. But after, we did Japan, I actually was just down there. I told you were down there in that sort of area.
Yeah. San Bernardino.
Yep. Yeah. And I had just been coming up last Sunday, so I was not actually there to pass by Jada one last time. I go to the Toy Migos to get all my Jada news because they've got that on lock. Kenzo's creation is here. This guy was on Oz's for hours. Yep. This guy was there pretty early in the beginning and was pretty much there on and on throughout the whole time. On one point he was in his car. Love it.
Yeah, right.
Ted Darklaw jumped in and out to admonish us, telling us to stop being so loud because the kids were no, he dropped in every now and then. He's like, I'm pretty sure I just saw you guys 12 hours ago.
Right.
What's up, Ted? And thanks for joining us before your show over on the Hell It Up channel. We've got Greg Archer in the house. We've got, again, Matthew Madsen wondering how you're conscious, working a hard day, literally working in the mine, going down.
Yeah, right.
Stanley's Toy Channel. Hello. Nick Dillinger, what's going on, man? Hope you're doing good, and I hope you are enjoying this S. Diego Comic Con extravaganza. Good to know. Yeah, I was a long box and I went short box once. Fun fact, I don't think they existed when I started collecting. And then short boxes came in a little bit later and they made so much more sense. Frankie Rivera, good to see you, sir. Let's see who else is in the chat. Mark R, hello. Thank you for joining us. And Doak or Doak, not sure, but yes. You got this, right? You're in. He's there. Hey, and I appreciate that. Trying our best to stay positive.
Right on, man. Yeah.
We were just talking about that before this. We're like, you get to a certain point where you're like, wait, this stuff doesn't make sense. Is it too deep to share the quote you shared with me? Because I love it.
No. It's a quote from Buddha. Says, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Whew.
That quote had such a monumental impact on me. And allowed me to let a lot of things go.
Yep.
And to my health and mental benefit for sure.
And so, put that in your cerebro, folks, and let that resonate in the dome because, man, we're here. Like, I'm talking about toys with a friend. Why do I gotta be angry? This is my escape, and let's go. Okay.
Yeah, life is good. Life is good.
Logistics, I do put together links to guide me as I'm going through, and then I just share it with everybody, and it will live at this URL that's going across the screen if you want to check that out, especially if you're on the replay crew, because it goes out after. While we're doing this live, Thanos is dope, and he's going to throw in whatever links are prepared in there in the chat. So, and there's also that QR code over by Joe's beard, so check
I might be reversed. I'm not sure. One of these two stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a whole thing. All right. Let's go ahead and start off with what is it? Oh, yeah, let's go start off with the scene. Oops, I just covered our faces. Look at that. So unprofessional. But that's okay. Because when I hit back and I lost you for a second. You know how I'd like prepped all that stuff to get ready to show? Lost all of it. So
oh no,
it's all good. No,
this adds character to the show, though. That's the way I like to think about it. Yeah.
Look, witty banter and yay. All right, here we go. Let's talk about what we see in this. Okay, before we get into the San Diego stuff, there's a bunch of like nerdy fun stuff that I think excites me as a toy collector, as a nerd, and some stuff I'd love to talk to Joe about, because I think this is stuff that could fill out some of his shelves too.
Oh, right up my alley. Absolutely.
Have you seen this at all?
I haven't seen this one. Okay. No. Is this D20? A D20?
It's funny. That was my question to them. Is like, hey, who's doing this? But it's 5K Toys posted this, and not too long ago, they're like, which animal do you want? Right? It's like tigers and stuff. And then this is that tiger, but they still haven't really named, at least that I've seen, it which studio it is. So I asked them, no answer yet. But it looks very much like, that was my guess too, because it looks the level of detail and the way that this is looking reminds me of the wolf. But damn, it's go.
It's incredible. The only reason I ask, because just looking at it, honestly, it doesn't matter who makes it. It looks incredible. I want it. It just, when it's a studio that you're familiar with, the joints are going to work well, the plastic, like D20, the quality is there. So that always, makes me feel a little bit better. But yeah, I want this regardless.
And it's really funny. Like you would think that I would be like more hesitant when it comes to some of the stuff on 5K Toys. But after my experience, like I don't know. I haven't yet complained about the quality. Some of the customer service stuff is a little wonky, but like every time I get stuff, I'm more so wondering, like, why aren't some of these other companies like able to maybe mimic kind of what they're doing? And I know like there's real logistical reasons for it, right? But I'm constantly amazed. And I look at this and I'm like, man, like, what are we going to put on this? We're going to put like dwarves, some other animals, some AWOC, like, oh. What do you think? So, what do you want to throw on there?
Well, for me, being a D&D guy, this is like a forest elf mount. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm picturing like like Legolas's race of elves, like, coming out of the jungle, riding this, bow drawn, ready to take care of some orc business. So that's immediately where my mind goes to.
I love that, especially like kind of in a jungle setting, right? With this cat. I'm curious. You just pronounce Legolas differently from maybe the film's Legolas. Is there some insight? Can you give me, is that like you want to push up your glasses and tell me that's how J.R.R. Tolkien pronounced it? Or where'd you get that from?
Not that one. It's probably just, so when you, like, I read Tolkien longer, before the movies came out and things like that. So you say it in your head, it's the same kind of thing with Dungeons and Dragons.
Totally.
You're saying things in your head for so long that when you actually hear them and go, oh, I've been pronouncing it wrong all this time,
You're right.
Like drow and tieflings, then it just creeps out.
Yeah.
I think that's all it is.
That's probably fair enough.
Yeah, I'm probably wrong for that pronunciation.
No. I only ask because my kids have just started. They've seen it before, but they're going with their mom. My oldest was like, "Hey, can we watch Lord of the Rings?" So they're doing the extended things, and they've been deep in it. Okay, and so and speaking of pronunciation, Doak or Doak, if you could let me know how to pronounce it properly. But I've held off. I'm assuming on the D20, but this is amazing. So last week with James from Brutal Realm, we were doing like kind of a D20 recap to get to like the Fish Toys horse. And so, I'm hoping that it's them, or because but either way, it's looking really great. And here's, Thanos saying Zulian Tiger is another thing I never got in Warcraft that I can get in plastic form. So I'm assuming that's what this is from, not
right.
Which is, yeah, because Thanos is all about the Warcraft, and like, man, that is definitely like the I don't know, that seems to be a thing on 5K, like unlicensed Warcraft.
Oh, right. The wink, wink, nod Warcraft stuff. Yeah.
And Mark R saying, I want this for a brutal mount. Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool stuff. Check it out. It's going to be slowly rolled out from 5K, I'm sure. But since you mentioned brutal, Doke, that is, or no, sorry, Mark R. Just a quick check-in. That number just changed but yeah, so here's Brutal Realm. Last week I had James on from Brutal Realm, and they kicked off their Kickstarter a little over a week ago, and they're at 36,000 of their 140,000 goal, and they've got well till August 29th. But the thing with like a tiny company like this, right? Things get lost because everyone's SDCC. Oh my God, you see what Hasbro did? You see what Marvel did? So I know it might seem repetitive, folks, but I'm bringing it up again just to remind you, because I want to see things like this exist. And fun fact, a lot of the people that are involved in some of the Marvel Legends that you might love are involved in this project in one way, shape, or form, including their production manager. And so, it's a community of folks, as you said, like these creatives behind these things are like geeks like us, and some of them are venturing off into working on independent stuff. So please don't lose sight of the Brutal Realm campaign. It is there. If you're interested, there is a bit.ly. It's bit.ly/getbrutal. It'll take you right to the campaign.
Nice.
But were you, sorry, I think I cut you off as you were trying to say something about Brutal Realm, or
no, just these are amazing figures, and I would love to see this get funded and see what direction they take it. The Masters of the Universe classics, which I was collecting before I was collecting Horsemen before I knew who the Horsemen were, and look what that turned into, and it's the same kind of thing. Like, these figures kind of give me that, that same vibe as classics, where it's just a grown-up version of what we loved when we were kids. I get that feeling from this. It's 100%. Just like a grown-up version of Motu. So.
Yep. And so check it out. And I do have a couple of, oops, that wasn't right. Wait a second. Well, actually, let me go back as we're talking. So I did get some info from James that he sent today, just as updates. They don't have like a ton of stuff. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, we do have a couple of things that James has shared, but a couple of things that I asked him. I was like, hey, what could we share? Where are we at? And so just, they're doing their thing. They've got like they're trying to get renders of the initial warriors and the named characters done, because as folks heard last week, they pivoted to a brand new buck. So they want to get the renders out for promo materials, get the paint masters done, get Trevor to shoot them again. So so all that stuff is sort of like in flux, and but they are working on that, and they're trying to get it done. And let's see, they did share an image that, like, I'm hoping I can share this without. Yeah, I think I can. Here you go. So they're working on stuff like this to share as well. So more like promo artwork of some of the characters that they're trying to do. This is not final yet, but just, anything I can do to kind of help. Hey, like, remember this stuff, Brutal Realm, talk about it, let people know. And like, save a little space in that budget before the Snake Glare and the Rattler come into play. For maybe
you're not seeing Native American action figures that look this dope. Nope. You're just not seeing that. like anywhere.
Yeah.
So that is amazing.
Yep. And so yeah, that's it. I just wanted to take a little quick reminder of that. And hello to all the folks who are joining us now, including Alpha Magnus. Yeah, and I agree with you, Thanos. I want that number to jump. So yeah, back to bit.ly/getbrutal. Again, if you're not gonna back, no problem, but check it out and send the link out, let people know. Okay. Indie toys.
Sure.
This is what Adam was referring to earlier. It absolutely is gorgeous stuff, Ray.
Yeah.
Mammoths. So an almost 8.5 inch tall articulated mammoth by David Silva and the CreativeBeast Studio team. David Silva, who I believe still works at NECA, but has worked at NECA before. Has been doing his own line where he's like taken his sort of amateur, I don't think it's been professional, interest in paleontology and the study of like prehistoric animals and worked it into a toy line. And so he's done a bunch of the dinosaurs and stuff, and he's moving into mammals along with this is in collaboration with the Eons channel and show, which we talked about last week. But this is something that was shared this week. And can you imagine this with like some of our like your classics or some of our Mythic Legions stuff? Like
absolutely. I was just thinking, you talk about geeking out. So I'm also a video game guy, and one of my favorite video games of all time, it's based on a tabletop RPG, Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous.
Okay.
You can have mounts that are, I think there is a mammoth mount actually in the game. And the size, the almost 8.5 inches it's just like the perfect size for a 6-inch figure to use it as a mount, in my opinion. So I was thinking about that already. I'm planning a custom, of my main character from Wrath of the Righteous to use with this. So I'm already kind of getting myself pumped up on it. Yeah.
And you know how, like you were saying, you're into tabletop games and D&D. I don't know if you're still playing actively. I know you are. Well, we'll talk about that at the end of like online, but I'm wondering about like the non-Legions folks who don't know much about Legions or these other toy things. Those are the folks like, man, I just wish they knew about some of these toys, because I think they would go like nuts, right?
Right. Like D&D is so popular right now. Like Hasbro, for all the things that we like to complain about Hasbro, they took, when they purchased Wizards of the Coast, who had purchased TSR, they took that property and made it mainstream. And it was very much not that before. It was very much a niche nerd thing, and it's such a huge property right now that I think that if some of those fans could be introduced to things like Mythic Legions and stuff like this, that they'd be blown away. I know I was.
Yeah, I'm looking at like some of the celebs too who do these like celebrity D&D games, right? Like Jon Favreau and what's his name, Tom Morello, and I keep forgetting the guy who was on he played Deathstroke briefly.
I'm gonna draw a blank on his name, but he actually has a line of apparel called Death Save.
Yes. Exactly. All D&D inspired. He was just recently divorced from Sofia Vergara, I think. Yeah. Like I've seen that he's all about D&D. Like, and so I'm like,
Vin Diesel is a huge D&D guy.
It's like, could we just, like, my dream is to give like them or get somebody to give them some Mythic Legions figures and like get them hooked and like
absolutely.
Anyway.
Just takes one valiant night and you'll be hooked. Yeah.
That said, this thing, they showed this. Ready? I don't want to hurt the poor Wooly Mammoth, but check this out. Boom. Like the exploded view with the articulation of this thing is just the toy nerd in me gets super excited. Of course, like it's got all these articulation points. And they're not Spider-Man articulation. But the fact that I could take his body and its body and kind of do some movement left, right, maybe a little up and down, those legs.
Yeah, that's how that's how I feel about articulation. I always think, what articulation do I need for this figure? I don't need
low. Yes.
I don't need a knight to get in that McFarlane Spider-Man pose. You know what I mean? So
Yep, totally.
And it's the same thing with this, like as long as it moves like a woolly mammoth and you can pose it that way and snap some photos. And this looks like it's going to allow that and more. So
absolutely. And like this is gray renders. Their paint jobs over at CreativeBeast Studio are fantastic. And so it's going to be great. Speaking of fantastic, you got a buddy. It's like, oh, is this where we go for Joe Gonsalvez Live? The JGL.
That's a running gag with Curtis. Yeah. Any show that I'm on is now Joe Gonsalvez Live. So
okay. Are you guys in competition? Because, like, honestly, I don't think you're going to be able to catch up to Curtis.
Can anybody compete with Curtis? I don't think so. Yeah, no,
but
he's winning the race by a wide margin. I'm not trying to win. I just want to finish. So
what's going on, Curtis? Man, look at this woolly mammoth. This is great, and I can't wait for it. I shouldn't be getting big things like this, but like it's so rough not to like resist. And there, this is still, I'm waiting for this dragon. I'm waiting for that. But it's kind of silly how many big, awesome CreativeBeast Studios toys are going to be hanging out over here. Okay.
Yes.
Let's see. Hey, what you know about this?
I know that it's awesome.
Did you okay are you gonna have some in your life? Were you able to order some?
Absolutely. They put a 4-figure limit, so I ordered the 4 that I was allowed to. It's the buck for Maxilius the Harvester that's coming out in the Necronominous wave. They've released it kind of as a preview. It's similar to what they did with the Valiant Knight, just painted in a different color scheme. So that we can get even more excited about Necronominous, like we needed that. So,
Yeah. So if these words are like new to you, Maxilius is a character in the Mythic Legions figure line coming in from the, sorry, it's getting stuffy in here. You said it, Necronominous wave.
Necronominous wave. Yeah. He's
being when, like by the end of this year?
Q3 is what they have on the website. So,
okie dokie.
So hoping so. It's worth waiting for anyways. That's the Grim Reaper character, from that wave. So
they took that figure and they're like, hey, let's give it that body to people early by creating a Skeleton Legion Builder Part 2, because they've given us Legion Builders before. That's their verbiage, nomenclature for see, again, these are all words that I learned from comic books, people. For army builders, basically. And so, man, I think I even told Trevor this when he posted. I was like, man, you just like triggered some like Ray Harryhausen like gene in me when I saw his photo, this first photo, and then I like started flipping through these.
Absolutely.
Man. So here's the deal. This was announced as a get that you could grab on their Friday in-stock sale this past Friday. Oh, you mentioned it is slightly different from Maxilius in that the left is Maxilius. So it's got slightly an older, more stained skull. And maybe these are ones that, I don't know, they somehow got sun bleached.
So being from Nevada, sun bleached bones is something that's, probably more common than it should be here. When animals pass away in Nevada, their bones end up looking like that.
Yeah. So these are in the desert, and so this is what it looked like, and it's really cool. And you mentioned the Valiant Knight, and that's a newer figure that came out this past year that like added additional like movement and articulation to the existing knight body. And moving forward, they're going to be doing that for all knights. And so same thing goes when they're looking at creating skeletons. They already have skeletons, but they had this Necronominous wave that was going to be very skeleton heavy. And rather than just use the stuff that existed before, the Four Horsemen wasn't like, sitting on their laurels, resting on their laurels. They're like, hey, let's what can we do? And so this is a brand new buck. And I showed it in the last thing, man. They move really nicely. I like how they look, even like the thickness. It reminds me.
They're still action figures, but you know, you want them to be durable. If they made them realistic to real life humans, they'd probably break a lot, and we wouldn't like that. But it's also a fantasy line, so maybe even Mythos, they have a higher gravity and you know,
exactly.
so they need more bone density to
Yeah.
To deal with that. So I'm totally fine with it. They look fantastic.
Yeah. And I always heard growing up that legend of being big boned. So,
right.
so they included that this past Friday in an in-stock sale, which is a thing that happens with the Horsemen, where they're like, hey, we've got a bunch of stuff in the warehouse. Let's try and clear it out. We're going to sell it all on this date. And like this time around, it was because it is kind of an anniversary deal. This is the 10th year of the Mythic Legions, the 25th year of Four Horsemen Studios.
Right.
You got something special. Hey, here's this in stock. Sorry, here's the Legion builder. And as Curtis pointed out, they went fast. You mentioned that the first 24 hours there was a limit.
Yes.
You could only get 4 per person. And then after that 24 hours, you could just go. And so yeah.
And I think what they lasted longer than the Valiant Knight. The Valiant Knight I know was gone in 14 minutes.
Yeah,
because I was an accidental jerk on the Valiant Knights, because I just got in right away, got the 6 that I wanted and checked out, and it was fine. And I was on various shows just happy with my purchase. Yeah, I got 6 coming, not realizing that people were upset that they had missed out. So I felt a little bad about that. This one lasted, it was 5 or 7 hours, I think they said, before they sold out. So hopefully everybody got what they wanted.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if Curtis was saying 2, not sure if it was, but either
2 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 2 hours then. I thought I had heard someone say 5, but
they also included a bunch of other stuff. And so folks, if you're curious, if you go to Store Horseman, you can still see what's available. Can I just make a plug? Well, maybe not. No, I'm not getting any, so go for it. They're my favorite. I love Apharius, and I'm excited about the new Shadow Centaurs. Is that what they're called?
Yes. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
And so I was like, should I get another? Because they're in stock. And the nice thing is there is the $10 flat rate shipping on this sale, right?
Yeah. Yes. And I just want to give maybe people a quick plug. The Tuberculi that's coming out with Necronominus, that skeleton amalgamation figure. Apharius has an adapter. You can take
somewhere in here.
Oh no, not the horse. I'm sorry. The horse from Necronominus's horse.
Yeah.
You could take that Legion builder, the skeleton Legion builder, and with that adapter that comes with Apharius, you can make a skeleton centaur.
Yes.
So I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I want one.
A little piece in here that connects this body to here. You buy that, you got the Legion. Well, if you were able to get that $26, which I didn't want to mention because it's sold out, but I will anyway. That's what those skeletons were selling for, which is wild. And then you could plug it into the skeleton.
But anybody that didn't get one, when Necronominus ships, you're going to be able to get that body.
Yes.
It's the same body, in that way from your favorite retailers. So, and
it was an in-stock sale. So for now, Jeremy Gerard has gone on the marketing, the voice of all marketing, and over at the Four Horsemen,
director of sales and marketing.
Yes, thank you. Has said that they were an in-stock thing. They're all gone. Don't know, no plans to remake them, but that's fine. Actually, you're probably, if you're trying to do that centaur, you probably want to go with Necronominus anyways because of color matching. That said, I know we'll move on, but yes, it says limited stock while supplies last, and they didn't last very long.
Right.
So,
but don't be too upset. There'll be other chances, I'm sure, to get that buck, even if it's not that exact figure.
Yeah.
I think most people, I'm a completist. I get everything. I don't know if, I think most people wisely don't have that mindset, which you can get what you missed out on. It's a slightly different color, but it's the same thing.
And this is true. Doak saying 2 hours for a figure to last is like a lifetime compared to the original Mythic Legions.
Oh my gosh.
Things would go so fast. So,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Those were those were kind of we would jokingly refer to them as a bloodbath, because it was like you'd be checking out, like clicking the button, and things are just disappearing from your cart. And yeah, this is way better.
Yeah, and they're not for everyone. I know, like, let me highlight some. Like Rick Jones was saying, sorry, but the skeletons look like they come from a large non-human hominid, too thick. Again, we kind of address it, but either way, like, yeah, definitely, like, that's cool. Yeah, there's just, and the nice thing is in 2024, man, the options for some of these things, there's like all sorts of options. Storm Collectibles has some skeletons. Boss Fight has skeletons.
Yeah.
Like
I have one of the Boss Fight ones. I like it. Yeah, I think I had the blue wizard one. That was a cool action figure for sure.
And I'll let Curtis and Rick work it out, and I'll let Curtis make poop jokes. That's fine. What's going on, Allison? Thank you for being the peacekeeper. Yes, great to see you, and thank you for joining as always. All right. And she would love to I'll just throw that up there because that's Allison. All right. Let's talk about, I mean, we're slowly getting SDCC, but there was just so much stuff. I posted this, and I'm going to go real fast on this. I just want to give you an eye tease. If you haven't noticed, folks, I have been starting to, when I was in Japan, I couldn't quite update things the way I wanted to and do all the shorts. I've been kind of pausing on the shorts for Instagram. So I was like, how do I provide content? And I wanted to just highlight some of the newsy stuff. And I'm doing posts like this. This is one that didn't quite make it onto the last show, but man, it is awesome. Another Sun Wukong sort of homage by was it JT Studios? I have his name in here in a little bit. But yeah, he's doing a line called the Gaki race. Essentially created a character and is doing like repaints of that character. And as you'll see in a little bit, there's a couple of different variations of the same figure. This is the Sun Wukong sort of tribute called Monkey. The deluxe comes with a dope little bike that I just think is so cool. And oops, so that was that. And I'll kind of show you, here you go, JT Studio. And I have his name. We'll see it in a second. But you can see a little bit more of the figure. It's just visually like so exciting to my brain in terms of blending in Sun Wukong with like, street pop culture and racing culture, and just, it's all there.
Yeah, so I'm a cyberpunk fan. I played the RPG when I was young, and now that the game that just came out, this totally gives me cyberpunk vibes all the 100%. Way. Like the cybernetics and the bright colors and, the fashion sense, everything about it. It would fit right into anybody's cyberpunk collection.
Yeah, and this is definitely one of those that, like, to be real, these are expensive art toys. This is a 1/6 deal, but like, it's okay. We don't got to buy everything unless you want to. And if you do, invite me over so I can play with it.
If I was wealthy, I would collect everything.
Yeah,
100%.
But this thing is so cool. Comes with a mask to give it that sort of monkey look. And I just look at I love looking at this stuff. It's super inspiring. And also, like, I want other toy collectors to kind of look at a bunch of like what's out there, just to get a sense of like what's possible, especially from these artists, to help push the culture, right? Like it could push toy designers to like do something else, like give us a commercial version of something like this. That's more
I talk about it a lot with even popular properties. If you like a property, support it, because if you don't support it, you're not going to get more of it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And so this is like a vendor. So this is Tenacious Toys. I've never ordered from them. So I just offer links because I hate being like, here's this. But like one of the first questions is, where can I get it? And you can see way more photos. If you're curious, again, not cheap, like several $100s. Check that out. Full price, $640. So it's okay. We're just looking. We're just enjoying.
Yeah, absolutely. And to somebody that might be worth it to them if they really enjoy this, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's funny because $640, you go, oh my gosh, that's a lot. But if there was a Four Horsemen all in and they were like, the all in is $640, I was like, yeah, no problem. So a lot of time it's perception too.
It's what you are like drawn to and what you're willing to put your resources towards. And we get that. And so, I never want to be like, oh, that's crazy expensive. That's silly. Like, it's just not for me, or it's not in reach for me, but there are other folks who can do it and go for it. Anyway, this is him sort of talking about the line. These are the first 2 characters in that line. This was like the original. I'll show this in a second. Actually, let me go ahead and do that now. Check this out. So this was and I'll have to I'll lower the volume. This is the introduction of what the Gaki race is. It's absolutely amazing.
That's incredible stop motion for sure. Wow.
And I honestly, no, you know what? It is largely practical with, obviously some computer stuff, because they show the set and stuff on his IG. Look at this vehicle. Step in on the side.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that total cyberpunk vibes.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to show the whole thing. Y'all should definitely check that out. But JT Studio doing some cool stuff. There are several characters you saw here. This was their very first character, and you can kind of see where the reuse comes. But it's so unique the way they kind of repaint these things, and I think
the soft goods give it a completely different feel.
Yes.
So for sure.
I'm just like, man, take notes on what they're doing. Like if you're a creative person doing toys, like see what other people are doing. Here was their announcement for that second character, Jaeger. I'm sorry. No, this is the newest character that's coming. And I wanted to highlight this vehicle. Like you kind of saw in that loud. Check these out.
Oh, wow. That's dope. A little speed racer vibe there. Yeah.
Man. Anyway, check that out. JT Studio. I forgot. Here, you know what? You want to see peek behind the curtain? This is how I do it. Jay Sang. That's how I do it. Is his name. Beautiful stuff. Artist for sure. Okay, let's move on. Speaking of art, Kylab. Got any? You got any Kylab soft goods? Or have you seen it? I know something.
I know I've seen. Yes, I definitely see it. I follow them on Instagram. I believe that I do have a blacksmith set from them. I'm trying to remember. I have so much
like
stuff.
The apron and the
yeah.
I have a dwarf set that's got this beautiful fake leather thing with this beautiful like embroidered pattern on the side.
Nice.
Absolutely great stuff.
Yes,
again, one of these things that's a little spendy, but I had to get one for science.
Right.
It's beautiful. Check them out. And again, I posted about this last week. They released the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff for the Mezco line.
Nice.
And I was just like, man, how do you take these Mezco figures, which in my opinion were some of the best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles figures? Like if I were ever to get them, those are the ones I would have gotten. But I'm an idiot like many who was like, oh, I don't know, $400. But so I didn't. And then here comes Kylab going, what about this to kind of plus those already great figures. Got a soft goods, Last Ronin. You've got, Mikey chilling on a skate day. So good.
No, great stuff. And I'm not trying to be a sales rep for them or anything, but they're going to scale with other lines. You're going to find other, like if you like this stuff, I'm sure it'll fit on some other figures too. I'm not sure on the exact scale of the turtles, but these are a little small, but but who knows? Like it could fit with your other figures for sure. Like a Marvel Legends or something like that, And
they did clarify that this E they said an E would turn into a K. So, like a smart ass, I was like the LAEKRS. No, sorry. Yes. LA Lakers, fast break makers, kings of the court. Okay. Anyways, those are rad. You can buy them over on 5K. Check it out. The full price then they're like different things would be $38 for the Last Ronin, $22 for the the skater set, and $20. Crazy. Kind of. Like if you see these things,
actually, and those great prices aren't bad for what you're getting. Not at all.
Cheaper than the stuff that I've gotten from them.
Right.
Anyway, it's super cool. So let's go ahead and move on. Again, trying to keep it speedy because, let's do a commercial break. I've kind of already shared that I am trying to, over on IG, would appreciate it, folks who watch the show, to check out Brick Something on IG, where I definitely do outreach for the show, definitely earlier than I did this weekend. As I mentioned to Joe, I'm single parenting this week, so been a little bit occupied. Post this kind of stuff. And I have in the past, and I'm coming back to done these shorts of basically my toy collection. I need to get back to them and basically, document my toys. And they're not playing right now because I got way too many windows open. But check that out. But more importantly, a more recent endeavor, while I was in Japan, man, I was seeing so many cool things, taking pictures. And I was like, I want to share this stuff. And I'm weird. My brain is like, the Brick Something aesthetic for that IG is different. So I'm like, okay, let me create another account. So this is Toy Spotting at toy.spotting. If you're not following it, it's just me kind of going through and sharing not just the stuff I saw in Japan, but also stuff from old toy shows and shops and just things I've seen wherever. Today, I just posted something that I snapped yesterday at a mall. So, yep. But check that out because, I'm kind of doing like this kind of thing, like stuff that, just photos of stuff, including, hell yeah, Monchichi. So just want to throw that in. End commercial, self-serving commercial.
Hey, actually, it works. I didn't even know you were doing that. So
yeah,
somehow I missed it. So
thank
I'll
you.
definitely be signing up.
Good. Before we get into SDCC proper, let me pause. So this is the stuff that I had prepped earlier, but I closed my window. Let's just talk comics again. I want to share some shots of my brother's Marvel Legends collection. And I just want to do I don't collect Marvel Legends, but I absolutely love it. And I just watch it from afar because I just can't. But as I mentioned, we started talking about comic books. For me, Marvel was huge. Like the Marvel universe. Oh man, it has everything, right? It has like sci-fi. It has on the street kind of vigilantes. It's got traditional superheroes, mutants, man. It really does. And my brother's been collecting Marvel Legends. He's been doing Toy Biz and then Marvel Legends. I'm sorry, Toy Biz, like Fantastic Four and all those other ones. Then Marvel Legends and now Hasbro. And so when I look at his stuff, man, to see like the stuff from our childhood in plastic, and you can like pose them up and do stuff like this. Some of my favorite comic book covers and posters were the ones where they're like kind of doing like the posed group shot, right?
Yes.
And I love this stuff. This is his like, cosmic shelf led by like anchored by the Fantastic Four. And we're talking SDCC today, and they talked about they're sharing some really cool like new comic book characters that'll fit right here on this shelf, like some Kangs that we'll get to. They shared some test footage. I think they were actually animatics from Fantastic Four of like Galactus.
Yes.
So like it's in the zeitgeist, and I'm super excited. My stuff was this. My comic book. Yeah. This is my world.
The Toy Biz Marvel Legends, I have a near complete collection of them. So I almost have them all. So yeah, no, I love comic book characters. And
so then let me ask you, when you were doing that, and it was a little different in those days, but were you like going by team? Were you like, how are you going about? Well, no, you said you're complete, I guess.
So yeah, back then it wasn't that I was consciously trying to be a completist. I just liked everything. So I bought everything.
Gotcha.
I couldn't possibly display all of it, so like right now they're in a tub until my kids move out. Hint, hint. But when I get the house all to myself eventually someday, maybe that'll be like what I do to keep myself busy if I'm ever able to retire, is dig out all the boxes of the old toys and get them all displayed. But yeah.
This is the oh, sorry.
Oh, I collected pretty much all the comics, you know. There was a point in time where I was collecting almost everything. Like I see those the X Factor, you know, was one of my favorite comics when Peter David was writing it. Whew, that was hot fire.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is the Canada shelf. This is, as you say, the 90s era. You got your X Factor, you've got X-Force in here. It's just so cool to see all this stuff. And I'm bringing this up because, again, San Diego Comic-Con, just a reminder to all of us that, like, yeah, before, you know, the MCU, before the TV shows, like, so much of this was based on these comic books that we all loved. And then Marvel Legends did its thing. It's just interesting to me this time around. I think that's enough to share that. But of the it's interesting to me to look at what's been going on with the stuff that they shared this time around. It's very like classic comic heavy,
right?
Particularly the Marvel Legends folks. So that that's kind of what I was thinking about, and I was just excited to see you know, he's starting to basically sort of curate his shelves. So, you know, he's having fun with that, but there's even more, man. I love it. And he sends me these videos and it's cool. It's basically like he and I do a version of the news like every day, but in text.
Hey, right on. That's amazing. What fun.
So anyway, so before we get to the Marvel Legends news specifically, I do want to shout out some of the folks that like have been awesome in terms of covering. I tried to highlight especially the folks who are on the ground. So just shout out to these folks. Toy Shiz, Badass Review. Oh, actually, I think so. Toy Shiz. Carlos, who I thought was there, but he wasn't. But that's okay. He's got some great stuff. And I've totally added him in the mix by mistake. But Toy Migos, it was on the ground as well. Pixel Dan was on the ground. Toying Around was there. D Amazing was there. The Fwoosh. And so they, as a result, had a lot of great coverage, as well as In Pursuit of Toys, who I've shown on the channel before, but a lot of great coverage. I'm sharing all this. Actually, let's also talk YouTube real quick. I posted this on my community tab. Shout out to these folks. Toy Habits, Geek Dad Life, Mad Hatter, Mega J, YHS, Robo Don't Know, MCU Collector, Shartimus Prime, Yellow Productions, Kyle Peterson. And I just threw an IG in there because I was kind of watching them for the overall big picture of the con. Just, I say all that as well as, hey, check out, Toy Arc, where I got this photo from. Because if you're watching the show looking to hear about SDCC everything, it's not going to happen. So use Google, use those links. Now let me and Joe just talk about a couple of choice things.
There you go.
So
yes, do the research, people. Put in the work.
Comic book stuff, man. First thing I saw at that when people were starting like Toying Around, Geek Dad Life, when they were at that Hasbro, there was like a Wednesday morning Hasbro press event. And one of the very first things people showed was the Kang, the new Kang the Conqueror figure. They've had Kang before, comes with a cool chair. And I think the sculpt is awesome. And what's exciting to me is the faceplates. Like we're seeing more and more domestic figs take notes on faceplates, including Legions, right? Legions has been for a couple years now working that in.
Yes. Yeah. I know the Necronominous wave will definitely have for the knights, the interchangeable faceplates, which you can put a skeleton face on a lot of the figures too. So if you'd rather have them as skeletons, you can do that.
So
it's a great idea. And interesting that the Gothotropolis line, the Scarabus figures all had interchangeable faceplates, you know, so that was something that, you know, it's been around for a while, but it's a great idea for sure.
Absolutely. Really big overseas too. You see a lot of that action. It's cool. Awesome. It just gives us options, right? Especially with face expressiveness. Like you don't have to mold a whole new head and it's basically pop and swap of the face.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. If it keeps costs down, hey, it benefits us as collectors, you know. I'd rather take a few faceplates than having it go up in price because there's more heads in the packed in, for sure.
And you know, you've got the whole like customizing community. People can print faces and customize stuff. So I'm excited about this Kang. I generally get bigger figs. Mythic Legions tend to be a little bit larger than Marvel Legends, but like I can cheat. He's flying in a chair, so it works. Anyway, I was just excited about this because he's a cool sci-fi character, time traveler. I think he's great.
Yeah, Kang is a classic figure for sure, so can't go wrong.
And sorry, I'm just going to try and go fast, but please jump in.
Yeah.
Crystal and Lockjaw. I think I first came across them in Fantastic Four. I'm assuming that has to be the first time the Inhumans popped up was in the pages of Fantastic Four. I think.
Yep. She was actually a member of the Fantastic Four for a while when I was collecting them. Yeah.
Yep. And so it's kind of cool. Again, just I'm excited by this stuff. As I said, like, making old people feel young, because there was something about what they shared in the beginning was clearly like, hey, it's Comic-Con. Let's talk comics.
Right.
Yeah. So I appreciated that. But that's just me being an old guy. I think the sculpts look great. Don't really need to spend too much time talking about it. I don't think I think it's cool that they exist.
I think they're well done, and I want the Lockjaw figure. I'm a fan, but I mean, how can you say that you don't want Lockjaw? You know what I mean? It's such a great figure. I just can think of how great he'll fit into photos and things like that. So
yeah, he'll frolic with that 5K Toys Tiger.
Right. And he's got the mouth face plates so that you can swap the mouth out for the different expressions, which that's what I like.
Amazing. Again, I already closed the window, but it's just interesting to see, like, some folks are wondering, like, why didn't they just articulate the legs so it can sit down? And I'm sure there's a million and one reasons, cost wise, etc. But like, it's cool to see them explore again. It's just exploring options and pushing the art form forward. We might be like, I know that sucks, but
we cool. All love articulation, but also try to remember how we feel when the articulation doesn't work very well. So, and that might have been a consideration for them too.
Yeah, Andrew. Yep, totally. This weekend was light on the ladies, as is a lot of toy stuff in general. But yes, that Crystal is definitely a welcome sight. I'm super excited. And then we've got the Space Knight ROM. The Space Knight, like
a blast from the past.
Yeah, man. We this is I was little, like my brother more so. Like I remember him wanting that toy at one point, and it was the alien toy. And the alien toy, I think, is still a sore spot because mom and dad wouldn't get it for him. But honestly, and I kind of was like joking around in this post about it because I was saying, like, what? Like, when this comes out, it'll be the best ROM toy ever made, ever. Because if you Google it, I know people have nostalgia for that original ROM toy, but damn, it was ugly. Okay. Just saying, Marvel, the House of Ideas, put their magic on that thing and actually turned it into a really cool character.
Right.
And it's finally going to take shape from that comic book art in Marvel Legends. This was super early. At the end of their panel, they're just like, it's coming. These are really early renders. Nothing really more to show. It might be well over a year before we see ROM, but it's cool.
Right. Hey, and there's a lot of, I'm sure a lot of, because that's where I didn't even know there was a toy of ROM. I'm familiar with them just from the comic.
From the comic. Okay.
Yeah. So.
It's fine. The toy, seriously, it was ugly. But but it's cool because they, being Marvel, recently kind of went back to secure some of the rights to publish some of their old comics. Like they didn't have ROM, they didn't have Micronauts. And so now they got those back to be able to at least publish what they had produced in the past. I don't believe they can necessarily work him back into the 616. Definitely not Micronauts at this point. Not all the characters, some of them. But still, it opens a door, and I'm gonna hold out hope for maybe we'll see some Micronauts too. I know Aaron's saying like he wants the rest of the knights. Where was it? I saw it, Aaron. The rest of the Knights of Galador, the Space Knights of Galador. Yeah. Oh, and I've missed some. Apologize, but yes, other folks are going to be getting some new Kangs. And Greg was asking if it's an old Kang with a new head and chair. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't been collecting Marvel Legends. I've seen the old one, and definitely I was like, oh, this comes with the faceplates like and the chair, so I was excited. But I honestly didn't do that kind of homework. So apologies. I simply do not know, friend.
Right.
Doke grew up with comics and have no real knowledge of ROM other than years like you. Of everyone wanting him in Legends form. Got it. Yeah, I'm sure people have talked about it. Here you go. Game Quest. Rebellions are built on hope, and ROM decades of hope brought home. That's awesome. And
right on.
And Allison concurs that the original ROM figure was ugly. It was so ugly, in fact, that it reminded her of her ex when he dressed up as C-3PO for one Halloween one year using tin foil. Well, at least he was fully clothed that year. Dorlax and hell yeah. And we don't know it's renders, but you're right, Payne. We know it's not going to be shiny. It's going to be that sadly likely like Kang's chair, that weird metallic plastic that Marvel Legends uses that's a little bit marveling. So anyway, Star, you better remember ROM. I count on you for these kind of things. Back in the 70s, I thought ROM was a Micronauts wannabe. No, man. But yes, Micronauts now or we riot. Anyway, cool
sorry,
stuff.
Internet hiccup. That ROM figure though, Army Painter makes an aerosol primer that is silver, like metallic silver. So even people that aren't customizers, that ROM, you can just take some silly putty, fill in that visor and those parts that are red, hit them with that aerosol, and he'll be a shiny silver. So,
there you go.
I think that'd be a pretty simple custom there. Yeah.
Jason from Spiro AWOC shared a tip that like a lot of people were surprised by. I didn't think about it, but using putty or silly putty to mask.
Yeah.
That's not something I'd ever thought of.
In the miniature painter community, that's a fairly common thing, like D&D minis. So I remember even when I was young hearing guys that painted minis talk about, using silly putty to mask their stuff. So that's where I got that from.
100%. Ebony Leopard hinting, wink, wink, wink. If you're a Transformers fan, you may want that ROM too. Yeah. I love it. And then you've got Speaking Moistly. Good to see you. It's been a minute. Great to see you. I am not covering Dragon Man, but it is beautiful. I want it for the sake of time. I am going to move, but it's cool. It's a thing of beauty. The new sculpt.
And it's huge.
And shout out to Gentle Giant, who I wish I could cover. I'm going to have to find another way. But Gentle Giant Studios actually contracts a lot of the Marvel Legends as well as other toy lines, and they actually worked on that Dragon Man, and it looks fantastic.
Hey, right on.
Let's talk about birds. Raptor. Okay, G.I. Joe. I was a big G.I. Joe kid, but I was a little kid. Yeah. And I definitely leaned more on the fantastic end. And I think my brother, he's 5 years old, definitely leaned more on the military end and maybe a little bit more on the realism. So it's perfect. Right. He's like, I don't want those. You get those. And I, and then play with my stuff anyway. But,
right.
But yeah, Raptor, I know, I remember even then, he was just like, he just thought it was silly because it was a little silly. But as I pointed in my post, there was something about Raptor that captured my attention. I realized it was two things. You remember Buck Rogers, Gil Gerard, Buck Rogers?
Yes. I've never watched it in depth, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you remember character Hawk or ever seeing like Hawk? And he had like an eagle head. If not, it's fine. But he had
there was the Buck Rogers movie, right? Had the eagle men with the wings, didn't they?
Oh no, that would have been that was Flash Gordon had the eagle.
Flash Gordon. Okay, I'm getting my wires crossed.
No, all good. But this was like a season 2 kind of thing here. I want to say season 2, but here real quick. This was Hawk. He was like my favorite character back in the day, and he had this Hawk ship that was like the shape of a bird that put the freaking what's it called from Masters of the Universe, the Talon
Fighter.
The Talon Fighter to shame, or maybe the Talon Fighter like took notes because it was right. Cool. It had claws. Anyway, between that and then some of the earlier stuff I remember as a kid sort of learning about and seeing from like the Pueblo indigenous people and like a couple people, Cherokee had eagle dancers, Apache had eagle dancers, that sort of like skirt thing that the original Raptor came with. It reminded me of that.
Yeah, I actually had that original figure. That was one of the, I think probably one of the last G.I. Joes that I got.
Yeah.
You know,
isn't it very like Motu almost? Like I could see that character and that style in a Masters of the Universe
for
kind
sure.
of thing.
Right. With it, you know, it was almost like a glider that he put his arms in.
Yeah.
Is how, you know, I always imagined it. So
seeing Classified kind of go like not shy away from this stuff. Not that they ever indicated they would, but they, like, I think the Marvel people have to thread this needle, right? They could lean into the comics, but then newer folks might be like, I don't like those old comics. I like the newer comics. Or other folks might be, I don't get that. Where's my MCU stuff? They have to thread that needle, right? And so G.I. Joe has to do the same. Like, how classic do we go? Do we do the weirdo characters? And I just appreciate that they straight up went, here's Raptor.
Right. Now, the original figure too was like a soft goods piece.
It was just a piece of fabric.
Right. And they might not want to do that. It doesn't fit the aesthetic for what they're doing, you know? So this is definitely a good update for sure.
And I love it. I love it's very much like that MCU movie with Spider-Man, the Vulture.
Yeah, the Vulture.
Which I'm not mad at all. You've got a little bit of like those claws, and then the tattoos. I just think visually he looks really cool.
He does.
They kept his weird tax accountant backstory in, which is fine.
You know, people can change careers though. You know, I mean, being an accountant, I imagine is kind of boring. So
whatever. I think it's a good thing for the Cobras to have some, tax accountants like they did in the comics. Like you get people's information. But anyway, I thought this was cool. And then they showed Road Pig. And again, I don't know what it is with the animals, but Raptor and Road Pig, I don't know. It's just a thing. Shout out to In Pursuit of Toys, who was one of the first to see sort of or that I saw to see the display on shelves, so I could see it a little bit more. I thought the face sculpt shined a little bit more in the shelf one, and you see comes with the pit, which is kind of cool.
Right. You know, I don't even collect G.I. Joe classifieds, but I like that figure so much. I'm with the pet and the look of him. He almost reminds me of something you'd see in like the modern Street Fighter games.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
The look of him. So I'm real tempted. I don't know. We'll see, but I might end up picking this one up.
I'm definitely, because again, I tend to largely think about scale. If you take a look at him, he's going to fit right in with the bigger, with like a Legions figure. He's tall. Come and check him out. And he just looks cool. I might have personally for my shelf, might have to get rid of the tattoos just because of the I'm kind of got this weird fantasy science fiction. I don't know. Maybe they would get tattoos, but sorry, Road Pig, that thing's kind of ugly. But
right. But you might have to start like a Mad Max shelf,
Exactly.
Go ahead that direction with it, maybe.
Totally. It's totally Mad Max, Road Warrior. Yeah, I was kind of joking about that in the post. It's like sometimes it's like post-apocalyptic, sometimes it's pro wrestling.
Right. Or both in this case. Yeah.
All right. I know, like I'm looking at time, but Allison's feeling it. Road Pig is hot. Raptor's midlife crisis involves turning into totally.
That's his he's like, what am I going to use this dad bod for? For crime. Yeah. So.
And they can always do intro card. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
And they're starting to do that, and they can, and that's a hell of a career change, tax accounting to terrorist. I'm not going to say. I know. I was okay. And absolutely. Valaverse and Action Force are definitely working on post-apocalyptic as is Fist. And so it's cool to see that kind of stuff. But I'm with Rick.
Yeah, the Acid Rain stuff. I've never bought any, but they look so good.
I'm with Rick. I'd love to see Mad Max, modern Mad Max figure.
Yes.
We'll see. Let's switch gears, man. It's I'm trying to go, but NECA. We'll do this fast. They do horror stuff. Just want to highlight really this. There's so many other things, and there's two other specifically NECA things, but I'll highlight this from the sort of Halloween horror stuff. I loved when they show this again. This is my nostalgia, right?
Right.
Like I remember this era. But what's even cooler is the new lines they were sharing in this interview with Veebs from Robodono, that they're going to move into licensed stuff. And so even modern licenses. So there's a little bit of like what if going on, they hinted at, like, you know, what if there were more modern properties done in this old style, which is kind of cool.
That is cool.
And so I think they're cool. I just, it's amazing to me what's being made these days. You know,
and the kid action figures, of course, will come in handy for photography and things like that, especially with superheroes.
Yep. Sorry, and I quickly sped past those because those are great. There's all sorts of stuff. I can't even tell you, like the Invisible Man they've got going on looks amazing. The Mummy, pre-Mummy.
I think I saw some Evil Dead stuff too, which I'm a big Evil Dead fan. You know, the Bruce Campbell.
They've got all sorts of stuff.
So, yeah,
definitely worth checking out. Just quickly highlight some NECA stuff, man. Sesame Street, Muppets. Hello.
Can make your own memes. You know, even if you don't have that nostalgia from when you were a kid, think of all the cool memes you could make with these.
Pop that head on a Mythic Legions. Imagine like on a knight body, on the armor. Anyway, I think the sculpts are gorgeous, and I'm an admirer. I know. Yeah, that's all, and we'll move on.
The texture. That's one of the things I love from the modern versions of figures like that. It looks like a Muppet. The clothing has texture. It's amazing. Shout
out to Toying Around too for this footage or these photos. Yeah, you see it right there. You're absolutely right. And in the face.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool. We're living in marvelous times.
We are.
To the point where, Turtles movies can get characters that we thought we'd never get. I just wanted to quickly throw in this Tatsu, which I will actually be grabbing. Not super impressed by the way these finally turned the sockets. I wish they were a little bit different, but
they kind of look like curtains, but they're passable.
I want to see what's underneath there, but I love the head sculpt, and he looks dope. Okay. This I know is what you wanted to talk about, friend. I've shown him the last couple of episodes, but like I know, and you've been in the chat, like Vecna. What is it about this that you were like you're so excited to sort of see?
So Vecna is an old character. The original D&D setting was called Greyhawk. He was a form of undead that's called a lich. They're spellcasters that turn themselves undead so that they can have eternal lives. Vecna did that. He became eventually a deity. He was betrayed by his general named Kos. The black sword that comes with him is the sword of Kos. It is his weakness. That's how his hand and eye were cut out.
Love it.
I've used him as a villain in D&D campaigns probably 5 times. He was the god of secrets. Okay. So, it's just him as a character lends itself to storytelling so well, in my opinion, and then to get a representation of him, a modern representation, and have it look as good as this looks, it's, for me, I'm not a nostalgia guy, but this kind of hits me in the nostalgia, the little bit that I have. He comes with the Book of Vile Darkness. That book right there, it's like D&D's version of the Necronomicon, I guess, I'm not sure if the dagger is a specific magic item. I'm not positive on that, but the hand and eye are artifacts that I've used, in my campaigns before. And it's just a ton of fun. Like seeing them do something that has had such a large part of my adult life, as far as, the things that I'm into.
I'm with you. And I mean, I'm not at all as hardcore into Dungeons and Dragons, like for legit, but more of like on the periphery, and like kids in high school would have the books and I'd be like going through and looking at all this stuff. I was like, oh my God, this stuff's amazing. But I'm looking at these figures and the way they're doing them. And so I was a little bit wary when Hasbro got started making the cartoon at first,
Yeah.
and that didn't do so well. Like it didn't take off. It didn't last very long. So I
Can I
thought
just
like, oh no, go for it.
Oh, just real quick, because those figures were bad figures.
They were. No,
Uh,
yeah, sorry.
You know, that was it. I bought
Broken.
them all. I'm actually afraid to open them because so many people have told me that they're opening them and they're just broken in the package. I haven't even I ordered all of them and was so excited, and then people were just like, yeah, parts are broken inside the package before I even open it and things like that.
So I was totally like, oh
Opening
no, it's like, it's done. We lost our chance. But then,
right.
then here comes Super7. They're like, no, we got the license and we're going to do it. And I'm like, okay. So I am kind of curious to see if people will bite, and I hope they do. And we'll see.
Yeah,
This,
me too.
This pre-order dropped. It's open till August 20 something, 29th, I think. $55 standard Ultimates price.
Right.
And I'm curious too about what's going on with his body, because it's definitely not their typical body type. And you can see that book that you were talking about lives inside. So I don't know how that works.
So,
but like they're gonna build something. Go ahead.
D&D just released a new adventure, and I forget what it's called, but it's a whole campaign, and Vecna is the main villain of the campaign. Available on D&D Beyond right now. So, and he's on the cover, and he looks like this. So, you know, they totally went off of that. Now, I haven't bought it and read through the campaign yet, but I'm sure a lot of the things that are going on with this figure will be revealed in that campaign book. And
I appreciate that lore drop.
Sure.
I was thinking more so in terms of how Super7 engineered this, like, because it clearly it cannot exist in there. So I don't know how you get it in there. I don't know if there is articulation here. So it's just interesting to sort of see a brand new, different type of figure in their Ultimates line. Because like I know, like many of us are not, like, we're kind of tired of that buck that they largely inherited. So I'm excited about, like, I have a lot of I have a good amount of Super7, and the more interesting ones were completely different bodies. And I was like, okay, I see what you can do, and I'm excited. So I see this, I'm like, okay, this is an opportunity to really make a cool figure.
Right.
Anyway,
Absolutely.
Cool, man. So I'm glad you got this. I'm happy for you. I'm hoping, actually, fingers crossed, it relies on people pre-ordering, right? Because we've seen that with Super7.
Yeah, and I will be pre-ordering this myself, definitely. I learned a lesson because I fell into that. I fell into that comfort zone of it going up on Big Bad Toy Store, and then you just buy things at your leisure. And I missed out on some Thundercats figures that I wanted because they are not producing them in the volumes that they once did. So I'm not going to take any chances with this one because I want it so badly. I'm pre-ordering it from Super7 just to make sure that I get it.
Yeah, man, I tried to look for you, but that was the first thing when I went. I went to the San Francisco store because sometimes I've been able to help people out that way because, you know, I'm next to the store, and sometimes they always will have them. And he did say he's right when I named them. He's like, "Sorry, I know for a fact we're completely out of those in all of our stores and warehouse." And so, but yeah, they'll usually have about 3 per store on hand, and if I get there early enough. But anyway.
Oh, it's no problem. If it's something that I really want, I'm gonna get it. Yeah, it's not a problem. So
Dorlaxon's, absolutely. I'd love an entire D&D line, just freaking everything. Give me the companions, 100%.
Yeah.
And then NECA and Super7 both like have Dungeons and Dragons licenses. Like those two, it's true, Rick. Like it's wild, like between Turtles, right? Like there was I remember when that whole thing first happened, there was some awkward sort of like press relations stuff that they had to do during those cons when that news dropped that NECA was also going to be doing Turtles, and so now they're both doing this stuff, and so it's interesting. But hey, you know, maybe it'll the toy arms race will give us some good toys.
You know, competition benefits the consumer.
Yep.
And I know I have those NECA D&D figures, and they are top notch. I really like them a lot. So
100% agreed. I've got 2, and I love them. But here's the NECA War Duke. I don't know if are you getting those as well? The sorry, what I'm trying to say is they did the original War Duke, beautiful
Mhm.
NECA style painted,
Yes.
ultimate style, and
Yeah.
then they released the LJN tribute.
I have both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do it right because they know what
Yeah.
they're trying to get. So they're like, okay, this is the LJN tribute. We're going to give them that corny blue cape that the original came with, and
Yeah.
the bright colors, and it works. It's really cool.
You know, and I was kind of on the fence trying to decide whether I wanted to or not. And
Mhm.
what finally tipped the scales for me, the original one came with the flame effect that looked like regular flame.
Mhm.
The LGN inspired version comes with green flames.
Ah.
And that's what I was just like, man, I really want those green flames. So, and then if I'm going to get War Duke, you know, I have to get the Paladin too. So, you know, yeah.
Thanos is there with you. He pre-ordered.
Right
Oh
on.
yeah, that's right. Kenny, I grabbed him a Ghost Jaga. I grabbed Mega J. I think one of the Ghost Jagas too.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it really is so close, and those guys are awesome. I love visiting the Super7 store.
Right on.
So yeah, it actually helps me out because often I'm going in there not buying anything. So
Right.
Anyway, that's Vecna. It's beautiful.
It is.
Really quickly, Super7, they did some dope things at SDCC. They do this all the time. But they did something special with their sort of like off-campus, off-con events. So they had their normal thing where they take their store and they dress it up. And this time they dress it up for D&D.
Right on.
Just love this storefront, man. You see
that's
it.
the roller coaster entrance from the 80s D&D cartoon.
Yep. And she's about to go back on that adventure with her little, or no, I guess she's leaving with a cloak. But yes, I think that's super cool. And then as you probably picked up from the flyer, they did a freaking, they took a local pizza and turned it into like Mikey's Pizza. And you see like the staff, he's actually up here at the San Francisco store.
Right.
So it's kind of, it's just cool. They did it, man. They did the real deal. People came by, got pizza. He was serving pizza.
Right on.
So I just think that was kind of cool. Yeah. And then the turtles showed up. So I love that kind of stuff.
How fun.
Yeah.
Let grown-ups be kids again for a little bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I think the world would be a better place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know, man. There's so much. Thundercats, Mondo. I'll just say real quickly, it's amazing looking. Nothing I can get, but beautiful.
Right.
Thoughts? Anything you saw? Yeah.
Yeah, the same. It's an amazing figure. If it was a 1/12 scale, I might consider it, but yeah, great stuff. Amazing designs. I love the variety. I love the fact that they put the more of a cat motif to it, you know, with the fur texture, and that head right there even kind of reminds me the 1980s Beauty and the Beast show with Ron Perlman. You know, kind of had that split lip look.
Sarah Connor.
Yes.
Whatever her name
is. I forget awesome.
Too. But people are going to drop it in the chat in 5, 4, 3, 2. No. But this, I agree with you. This has been my one thing with Thundercats, especially as an adult going back. It's like, it just looks like
Linda Hamilton.
Yeah. Thank you. Linda Hamilton, Dorlaxon. It just looks like you've seen that meme of Carrot Top. It just looks like a guy with makeup, which is cool. But the fur,
well, because in the 80s, they couldn't do this. So, we got what was appropriate for the time. But now everything, the technology is so much more advanced. Yeah. This reminds me of like if they did a Thundercats live action movie, I think it would be more along these lines, Yeah.
Dare to dream. And that Snarf, I know a lot of people were tripping out on it, and I understand why. But were you a Mad Magazine or Cracked Magazine kid? Do you remember reading those in 7-Eleven?
Oh, for sure.
This is like straight up from the art. Like if they did a Thundercat
send up, yeah, but if you really put it in perspective, people are like, that Snarf is creepy, and it's like, what do you think of Labyrinth? And you're like, oh, I love that movie, and it's like the Dark Crystal, all these, like, you go back and watch those with modern eyes, a lot of that stuff was Gelflings are creepy,
Oh,
very creepy, you know,
100%.
without the nostalgia attachment of watching them when you
Yeah.
were a kid, you know. So that's how I feel about the
Snarf.
Snarf. Yeah.
Anyway, look at Snarf. Go smoke some cigarettes, Snarf. And then
Right.
exciting announcement for those of you that maybe missed these Hellboy and BPRD figures back in the day, but they're being released. Maybe not so exciting because they're still pretty pricey. But 1,000 Toys is doing sort of for an anniversary, starting a couple days ago. The pre-orders for this Hellboy and Lobster Johnson.
Nice.
I just love these characters. I can't jump in on this, but BPRD is outside of like the X-Men and some of the more classic Marvel stuff that I loved.
Right.
Like this was more a newer comic that I felt like, oh man, I need to collect these. And I went hard into Hellboy and was so into it. And so anyway, I love it.
Right on. No, that's very cool. They look well done.
These are cool figures that they're being re-released and they're great. But maybe someday my dream is to get a really cool Mythic Legions. People make parts to make Hellboy.
Yes. So, there's some good ones out there too.
Yeah.
I've even contemplated a few times picking up some of the parts because they look so well done. You could do a heck of a Hellboy figure for sure.
That's the route I want to go. And real quick, back to Thundercats. Thank you. Because I actually love the Cats musical because I'm a Jellicle cat. But yes, Cats 2, Thundercats. Cats 3, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. And we could go on and on. Oops, not that. That Snarf looks like he might be. That's why he's so energetic. Snarf, snarf.
Well, it is from the 80s, so it would be time appropriate. So,
and what is Snarf? I don't know, man. I have always wondered. Snarf is a Snarf.
Snarf is a Snarf. Yeah.
He should probably talk like a Smurf.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is pretty cool.
Cool.
And Star, that would be Orko, but I get you. I'll let that go.
It was the same type of thing. That was a very common trope in the 80s, to add a comedic sidekick type character to cartoons. It worked.
We've been going a while, and I know, but I can't let Joe come on and let's not talk more Mythic Legions, especially customs, because you not only collect deeply,
right,
Four Horsemen stuff, but also Mythic Legions, Cosmic Legions, without talking about some other customizers. And this dropped this week, and I saw this, and I was like, and then amazing. Of course I started bugging him with my questions about the cape, but Nerd Mythical. Do you know Nerd Mythical's real name? I don't. Or is that
I don't.
That's okay. I just was wondering.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'll bring people on. They're like, "Oh yeah, that's my buddy." Blah blah blah.
Right. But yeah, I'm not sure, but this is an amazing custom. That's for sure.
Nerd Mythical. Wow. You already know because I was commenting on it, but I love what they did with this figure, like really taking it from, because the character is kind of like this almost like monk-ish vibe to like this warrior, like gun looks amazing.
Yeah.
This cape or these, I think, it's a shredded cape, each with wires in there that like, I totally studied. I was like, how do
a lot of it, like, the body, it's the original sculpt.
Yep.
And is well done. And there's great paint apps on Mythic Legions, Cosmic Legions, Figure Obscura. Like it's amazing. But even more than that, Eric Treadaway sculpting, I brought up texture earlier. His sculpts, modern sculpts, have such great texture to it that you can do some, fairly simple painting techniques like a dry brush or a wash. And it adds so much to the figure because that texture already exists there.
Like this stuff here, I'm looking at the skin in particular.
Right.
And of course the weapons too. Wait, is this weapon actually?
I don't think that's
it's
from
like
something
cobbled
else.
Together.
Yeah.
Is it? I feel like it. Oh
that's
no,
not
it's not.
Well, I don't think it's a cosmic weapon. It does have the port on the side.
Yeah, so maybe like someone customized it.
Yeah.
but it's cool, and it has some of the elements that you'd see in the actual weapons from the line.
Right, and
You
there's some
don't
great
know.
dry brushing on it. Like the dry brushing is
Oh,
done really well to bring out the
look at that
sculpts
thing.
too. Yeah.
And yeah, look at the body, as you say. I haven't opened this figure yet. I need to. 'Cause it had
Right.
some of
Right.
that face like had scuffed up on the plastic, but I think
Right.
it's okay. I never followed up with a horseman about it.
Oh, yeah, mine did too on the new line.
Mhm.
Mine had some paint on the plastic clamshell, whatever.
Yeah, but the figure
But
was fine?
the figure was fine. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm assuming my figure's fine, and it's been a long time anyway, so my fault.
right.
But look at this. It's glorious, and look at that. That's what I wanted to get to.
Yeah. Did
Why
they
are
just
they
really
done?
did he just starch the heck out of the fabric or
No, that was my question, never responded, but at first I
oh
was
I
like,
gotcha.
did you just glue and sandwich? And then I was like, oh no, never mind. I saw that there's stitching in there. Really well
Oh yeah.
done.
Maybe they did wire
Um,
each strip. I
they,
I
oh,
don't
they're
have that kind of
definitely,
dedication.
they're
I don't have
definitely
that kind of dedication. You know, I would have just starched them until they were stiff or something like that.
it's so badass. Anyway, let's talk customs. You wanted to highlight this. Our buddy Terrence. I don't
Yes.
know if Terrence is here. Is Terrence here? Is Terrence
I
mad at
haven't
me for
noticed
Snake
them.
Player? I hope he's not mad at me.
Oh,
No,
I
but yeah, let's talk swig. What's going on? Tell us about what
yeah.
Terrence is doing.
So Jeremy Gerard did this funny story about 1,000 swigs. If you're not familiar with the Four Horsemen, you can go to their website, Source Horseman. He wrote out a story because there was this kind of amusing thing where people were just talking about how many swigs they were getting in that that it was the blind box sales basically. Yep. I can't remember the actual name of it, but
I don't remember either.
So
but yes.
he wrote a story, A Tale of 1,000 Swigs, where Swig is an alchemist. He makes a potion where it creates 1,000 of himself. I love that because it just gives me an excuse to buy more figures, as people will see. But Terrence came up with this idea, trying to get everyone to bring a swig to Legions Con. Everybody's going and get a photo of 1,000 swigs, just everybody with their swigs at Legions Con. And I think it's a fantastic idea, even if it did make it harder for me to get swigs at a good price. But so I just thought that was a really fun thing to do. And he's been, posting that hashtag 1,000 swigs.
Mm-hmm.
He started doing a comic on it, which is fantastic. Just a lot of fun and something. This will be my first Legions Con that I'm going to,
Me too.
So this is the kind of fun stuff that I want to get together with everybody and get my swig photo.
I love it, man. I love the creativity of this community in particular. And like you could do something like this and people are down. They're like, yeah. Let's go.
Right.
So you have been putting some stuff together?
I have.
Yeah.
I was already, and there they are. I've already been collecting swigs. My idea, even before Terrence came up with this idea, in Jeremy's story, he's sent by King Noglin, his ruler, out, to go spy on all the other factions. So my idea was to come up with a custom, like a pop and swap custom for each faction that would fit in. So I display my figures by faction. Because
I love it.
I have them
swig,
all.
A swig for every faction.
There's going to be a swig in disguise in each faction, spying for the King of the Goblins. So that those 5 in front are my first 5 disguised swigs.
And this one.
Yeah, and then the one in all black, and I
love it.
One in green, and they're goblins, and I always. For me, I imagine goblins being kind of silly. So obviously it's just Swig's head on different bodies, but he might think it's a really good disguise. Like, he'd be like, nobody would think that I'm an elf. Or that I'm a goblin. I'm wearing elf armor,
Yeah.
So in my mind, that even though they're not good disguises because they all have the same head, that's, so just something fun I was doing with my display, there. So
I love it.
Oh, yeah. I'll pick
so
one of those and bring it to Legion's Con.
Oh, you're only bringing one. Okay. I was going to say, you weren't supposed to bring all 1,000. Right?
No,
that wasn't the
no.
assignment.
The rest are for my collection. Yeah.
Got it. I was like, come
know,
on, Joe.
Right.
Yeah, I think other people are going to contribute too.
Yeah. No. I don't know if I could afford that
joking.
much luggage,
Yeah.
on the plane, but and they're fun too. Like the barbarian looking one. I figure one of Swig's potions is a protein shake, that one there. So
oh man,
yeah.
I can't get away from the purple and green, man. I love it. That's again one of those things baked into comic books because of the way comic books were produced back in the day with the inks. Like there were certain color combinations that just worked for them to be able to recreate with fidelity.
Right. So the Hulk was supposed to be gray.
Yep.
And it just wasn't working with the printing originally. Yep. Yeah. So,
and there's like a shorthand eventually of like that developed of like, oh, villain colors, that at least in my brain, even though there are some heroes with purple and yellow, but as you said, the Hulk, but like, Mysterio, Joker, right, to cross universes and the Riddler. And so anyway,
things we associate. Yeah. Definitely.
So you do customs. And so this is you. Let's go ahead and switch it up as we close towards the end of the show.
All right.
That's what's up. Joe, so in addition to Swigs, you customize a bunch of other stuff, right?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, the Swig thing is relatively recent. I haven't been doing many complex customs lately. Just because I've been busy and I haven't had the time to, as you can kind of see from my Instagram, there hasn't been anything custom in quite a while, but they're like my mud thumps, those ones in the middle. These are probably my favorite customs I've done. This is
good. I love
from
these.
Wolf King Customs. Emil Wickman and Stephen Bishotti came up with this idea of the mud thumps and made those custom pieces.
Yep, these.
Yeah,
I love these. And so very Gremlins back in the day.
Right. So that was a really fun, probably the most fun I had with customs, just because goblins can be so ridiculous. I feel like I can just go far out with them. So
this
very cool stuff.
Such a great look, and I haven't seen that head on a body, and that is so fantastic. And I've always loved this. This screams like the Rankin Bass cartoons back in the day.
Right. I wish I didn't have a very good camera when I did these too. I should probably go back at some point and retake some of these photos so that they're in a higher definition. But the Emil sculpted all of these, and he's such a talented, just talented everything. But his sculpts are all fantastic. So
and look at you with your soft goods, man.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm an oiler for a living. Like I work at a mine, and I'm a lubrication technician, an oiler at the mine, and we get boxes of rags, and the boxes of rags are just clothes that stores would throw away. These companies buy them dirt cheap, shred them up, and put them in a box for us to use as rags on for whatever your profession is. Every once in a while, I'll see a print like that, and I'll be like, hey, that'll go good on such and such custom. And I'll just take that rag and stick it in my pocket. And I brought it home and made a skirt out of it for Grandma Mud Thump, or Mama Mud Thump, excuse me. I kind of pictured like designed her off of more of a grandma, but it's Mama Mud Thump. So
I get actually what was the name? Mama Fratelli. I get a little bit of that in the face.
Right. From the Goonies, yeah.
And I remember this figure in particular, you talking about it when you were on the shelf back in the day.
Yeah.
Before you were shooting the shelf before you were an official co-host, right? Working with them. Yeah.
That was such a cool experience. So at the time I had been on Legion's Lounge, just like on a fan appreciation night kind of thing for like 10 minutes with those guys. And then Jesse asked me if I'd want to come on the show. And I was super nervous at the time. I hadn't done anything like this, and never been to conventions or anything like that. And I wanted to do something special for those guys for giving me the opportunity to come on, and be featured. So, in some of the other shows that they'd be on, Jesse talked about having a 1.0 body style. He calls them fuzz monks, what Thistlethorn is.
Yep.
And that one there.
Yep.
And I had an extra Malefar character, the skunk one, so I just repainted the head and
man.
Yeah. And he's some of the things they teased Jesse about. Jesse said, his favorite accessory would be a satchel, so I gave him a satchel and painted up that book and everything.
So good.
And he had accidentally banned Kevin Dufresne in one of the episodes of Offworld before I was a co-host.
The internet gods are not with us. There you go.
Yeah. It was a bot. He was trying to ban the bot from chat and accidentally
it was Kevin.
did Kevin Dufresne. So that's why he comes that hammer that he comes with. I called it the ban hammer. His legendary weapon. Yeah. So that was just something fun that I did for.
No, and that stuff is cool. And Jesse, speaking of Jesse, he does that too. There's always a story in mind when he's creating these characters. And I love that. It totally makes these, and you know what? That's true of a lot of our toys, right? I've heard toy designers talk about that often in terms of trying to build in storytelling moments in things.
Right.
What's the story with this hat? What's the story with this? Yeah,
right.
Totally.
And I do think that adds more fun. At the time, the joke was that Curtis was inevitable like Thanos, from the MCU.
Yeah.
So I made him a bounty hunter because then your capture would be inevitable, So yeah, that's fun stuff. Thank you. Speaking.
Yeah, man, it's great stuff.
This one here, the body is actually from Power Rangers figure.
Yeah, it's different. I'm forgetting his name, but it's got white skin, right? Big old nose.
Yes. I never watched Power Rangers, but I saw that body and I was just like, I can work with that, And the joints are very similar, so I didn't have to do much,
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was able to actually pop the arms out and just pop the goblin forearms in there. Yeah, just a little bit of heat,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love when people do that, and they take stuff from other lines and work it in. I've seen Jeremy kind of talk about I got this cape piece from here, or, Jesse's done that too. Love it.
Right.
Look at this. That's so good. And I love the way that fur works with those pauldrons.
That was actually from the NECA, a NECA accessory pack.
The cape?
I believe so. Yeah. Wasn't it the Barbarian accessory pack or something like that? Came with the cape and a couple of heads.
Oh, is it Mezco?
There you go. That's the one. Yeah.
I was going to say NECA gave that cape. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very similar to the King Conan one that just came out.
Yeah.
This is cool. Oh, man, this is good stuff. And of course,
thank you.
Your comic book background, I'm sure informs it. Your D&D background definitely informs as you're doing these things, right?
Yeah, I think more Dungeons and Dragons than anything.
Okay.
As far as inspiration for a lot of this stuff, but I comic books too. I was never really artistic, I love comic books, but I'm one of those guys that can barely draw a stick figure. I always wanted to be a writer, not an artist, because I didn't really have that talent. But for some reason, I don't know, painting these 3D parts kind of speaks to me,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm glad you found it, man. That's so great. Hello, man.
It's a lot of fun.
Is this a Spaceballs?
Actually it was supposed to be the frog.
Yeah,
but
right.
People made that connection too. This is my most liked post on the Cabal ever. I got 250 likes, And I was like, gosh, it was such a silly joke, but people just loved it, you know?
Oh, wow. I don't even remember this. Yeah. You're like, I've been waiting since this head was revealed to make this bad joke. And I'm like,
Yeah.
typo, it's a rad joke.
Right. So, yeah,
So
but
then,
they're toys. We should have fun with them, right?
exactly. No, 100%. This is all good stuff. Folks should definitely check it out, and you'll learn a lot just about the Legion's kind of environment of toys, because you've got custom stuff here done by other people in the community. The is that a carver?
That was
No, this is Fountain.
Drunk Gizmo Customs.
Yeah, there you go.
Alexander Deshaw.
That's right. So cool stuff, but also, so it started here. I remember. Yeah, that was a year ago. And then now you're a regular on with them on that channel, but also the new Offworld, Let's Go Offworld podcast. And there's a channel here as well.
Sean, I guess Sean wanted to take a break, you know, or at least not do the show full time. Nothing bad, just didn't really have time for it. And I was really surprised. They asked me if I wanted to fill in. No, even after the movie, everything's fluid. But they asked me if I would be interested in being a co-host on the show, and I was blown away. I didn't expect it at all, but yeah, definitely. And it's been a great time. We always have a ton of fun on there. You know, it's kind of a hot mess kind of show, you know, but we have a great time doing it. So
no, it's super fun. And the cool thing is like all the stuff that you and I are talking about, like it takes stops along the way. You can see it, like, right. It's like, oh, we're got a little Fortnite in here. It's like, sorry, not Fortnite. What am I thinking? So bad. Fallout. I was looking at this little guy.
You're right,
but no,
right.
it's like you guys cover such a broad, you cross the multiverses to use.
It's supposed to be a pop culture podcast. I guess.
So it goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And I love it. Right? You know, this is, and let's talk about this, since we were talking about, I've only checked out this first one, but this kind of blends your worlds together.
Yeah, this is something that I'm super excited about. So this was originally going to be Jesse's thing. Jesse is the one that set up most of this in the beginning. He was going to run a D&D game for us. And just for, I guess, time constraint reasons, he wasn't able to. And I was asked if I could, pick this up and be the dungeon master for this game. And I happily agreed to do it. And it's become something that I'm really enjoying and really looking forward to. And I wanted to kind of give this some promotion because it's something that I want to keep doing. So we want to kind of, get more eyeballs on it, and hoping that more people will check it out. But it's great fun. Jesse's experienced with D&D. I think Trevor has some experience. Nate and Curtis are pretty much brand new to it, but these guys are so creative and imaginative. Yeah. They're just like naturals.
That's what you need to bring. Absolutely. I've never played myself, and I've only I famously was denied an opportunity to play by some kids in high school.
That is so rough, because
it's fine.
When I started when I was 15, I started playing, and it was probably the most inclusive thing that I had been involved in up to that point,
And these guys weren't necessarily like, it was more so because of I think they were so into it, and the amount of, I guess, ramp up that it would have taken. At least that's what they told me. So they were buddies. Like, it's not like we weren't friends. But anyway, regardless, if
it was second edition, there would be a whole lot of math and things to memorize. So, I
love it. It's like they got their characters. You got Camellia, you've got Insect, the Fair, and then
Einsec,
Einsec, and then you've got
no. That's a joke in the show, so you guys will get to hear that if you watch.
And then you've got
fun about the names.
Why am I not remembering that? But then Curtis, I love it. Yeah. But I love it. They come in costume. Did they continue?
No, Nate only wore it for that first episode. Yeah, but
that's awesome. But it's a whole series.
We're up to episode 4. We had
first.
Yeah, we had the unfortunate technical difficulty with episode 4 and accidentally deleted 2 hours of it. So, but Curtis and I sat down and we did a recap of everything that happened in that episode, and then played the last 5 minutes of the conclusion of the adventure that we still had. Yeah. And we'll just be picking it up from there, you know, and continuing on. So yeah, I'm really hoping that this kind of, you know, gets out there to people. We're having a ton of fun doing it. So I
love it. It's super fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Folks,
you know, and if you've never played D&D, one of the nice things is that, you know, 3 of the players are learning the game at the same time. So if anybody's interested in playing 5th edition D&D and haven't yet, you can kind of learn along with us, because there's a lot of, you know, where we have to take the time to explain something to somebody. You know, so that's the thing too. You know, you can learn a lot about 5e D&D just from watching. So
yeah. Well, that's actually how I it was during, you know, lockdown, like everybody else, just figuring all sorts of stuff on podcasts. And you know, I found the folks who run campaigns like you all are doing, right? And you know, it's like, oh, okay, no, I get this. And it seems it's cool. It's like storytelling. You know, immersing yourself. And I love it. It's all theater of the mind in many ways. And
and a lot of these people are really, really talented. Like what Brick's talking about, there's a lot of really good quests.
Yeah,
I am not a professional voice actor. So, but I still give it my all. So you'll get to hear some funny voices from me and things like that. In the first episode, I drove a wagon, and it's just a simple little tool in D&D Beyond to draw. And they said it looked like the turtle van, and that's been a running gag. You know, it's not a wagon, it's the turtle van. So there's all those kind of fun, like inside jokes and stuff that
there's also like
part of D&D.
I've seen this now where like folks, there's the digital tools. A coworker of mine, he'd actually been running a game regularly and showed me kind of how he does things digitally now with tools like this, or like using spreadsheets and stuff. And it really worked during lockdown for them to play online. And there's this whole infrastructure now for it. So it's kind of cool. I know I don't have necessarily, basically the Brick Something channel would end if I were to ever go too deep into something like this, but that would be the hobby. But it's cool, man. It looks super fun, and it's fun to hang out and laugh, and
you know, and Beyond, you know, for the subscription for the service, the DM subscription is only like $5 and something cents a month. Okay, so it's super affordable. All the books that I've bought on D&D Beyond, I can share with my players so that they have access to them without having to pay for all the books themselves.
That's cool. That's awesome.
So there's a lot of good features there with it. And they're improving the map is a new feature, but they're adding to it. So I think as we go, things are going to get better. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you that it's alive and well. Like it's so at my school, which is like you know, San Francisco, you know, urban school, like they have a D&D club and kids get together at lunch, and there's a couple of different groups running things. At my old school and in Pacifica, there was also that. And then my kids have been invited by some of their friends and their dad, who's their dungeon master. They still have a standing game. It's kind of on pause for the summer, but they'd go on Sundays. So like I'll take them in the morning and then come back and do the show. And then I've been in Target several times and just kind of hanging out, and it's just cool to like see people pick up the books that, like, you know, like I'm a child of the 80s. There was a demographic for this kind of thing.
Yes.
Gone. Like,
absolutely.
You know, young women are up in this thing, folks of color, like everybody. Like they're just grabbing, like looking at this stuff, reading, and I'm just intrigued, like, you know. And so,
you know, the reason that I've stayed such a hardcore D&D fan for so many years was because of the fact that when I started playing it, it was for the people that didn't fit in, that you could bring a group of people together that weren't part of those, those popular groups, or maybe didn't have a lot of friends or fit in with everybody, and we could come together and socialize and have a good time together. And that held such a special place to me in my heart, that I've just stayed with it over the years. And now it's becoming so much easier. Now I live in Nevada. My oldest son, who, we played D&D together, of course.
Awesome.
He moved to Virginia. But
So
now
cool.
with these tools, we have been discussing, maybe setting up a D&D game and playing again, because we can just do that.
Man,
which
that is so cool.
It is really cool. So
speaking moistly, thank you. This is a perfect way for us to close it out. We were talking about comic books, right? And talking about how that laid down a foundation that is now the modern culture. Same thing goes for D&D and role playing. It's deeply in the culture. And in a way now, we talked about Vecna earlier and we kind of glossed over the Stranger Things connection, but that was huge. And that really had the zeitgeist for a second, and was showing, not totally accurate, but showing young kids doing a campaign in the 80s, which I thought was really cool. Right. And then that became the story frame for a lot of what ends up happening in the next couple seasons. And you and I got to talk a Vecna figure. That's where we're at. And it's a beautiful thing.
It's good times, to be a fan and to be a nerd, because it's just everywhere and it's so accepted now. It's wonderful. The only thing that I'll mention to people, is whatever you want out of a community, out of a property, that's what you need to put into it.
That's right.
So don't forget, if you like positivity and you want positivity, put positivity in. So
absolutely perfect. We've gone 2 hours, folks. It is Sunday evening, so as I'm wrapping this up, you're gonna see there's Geek Dad Live. Well, actually, I don't know. He's fresh from Comic-Con, but there's other stuff. Hella dope. There's a bunch of folks, and Jesse, right? They're still streaming on Sunday nights. Yep.
Yeah.
Are you supposed to be there right now?
No, I'm not on that show. I'm on Offworld on
Fridays.
Sorry. Yeah, no. Totally fine. Yeah, that's just Jesse and Curtis doing their interview. They have David Williams and Thomas Belay on tonight.
Speaking of
wonderful people,
customizers, go over there. Check the band. They are live now. Absolutely. So we should definitely wrap up. Thank you to everyone who came through. Really appreciate you. If you're in the replay crew, please definitely do the liking, consider subscribing, check out those IGs that I mentioned, and don't forget the links down there, bit.ly/Brick Something News, capital B, capital S, capital News, as well as the QR code. And definitely head over to Joe's IG, add him there. That will be in the links, as well as the Offworld Podcast.
If anybody wants to message me, I'm completely open to that. So I love talking to people about these things that we're fans of. So if anybody wants to message me, feel free.
I love it. Right on, Joe. Thank you again. I'm glad that you were able to finally join me here for the channel and the news.
Oh man, it's a good time. The time just flew by.
Cool. So. Thank you, Joe. And thank you everyone who's watching. I'll be back next Sunday, 3:45 Pacific, to do the news, and maybe it'll be less frantic because SDCC's nuts. Anyways, thank you, Joe. Appreciate you.
Thanks
appreciate
for
everyone in the chat. We will see everyone next time. Cool. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
I'm supposed to click this. Oh, there it is.